I told you I'll keep on looking through as they came through. Warning signs. I had a good talk with a fella afterwards about something sparked my interest in what he said, and I went like, oh, when do you get the quote in? He said, oh, I normally get the quote in like 2 days later. And I'm like, what? You don't close the deal there and then? And the fella, I think, just didn't want to get the quotes wrong. Doesn't like being wrong. He's more nervous about being wrong, and therefore wanted to get it completely right. Now, some quotes I understand, right? They're complicated things. You've got to get sand and get quotes for different things that are going to go into the service itself. But in general, man, you've got to ride by your seat and get a shaken hand as a general rule at the end of the quote. So you go there, you do a quote. How does that sound? You've got to close the deal, dude, right? So if you leave it for 2 days, like this guy, your quoting success rates will be shite. Yeah. So you've got the ultimate is you do the quote, you hand them the quote, and you say, how does that look? Does that look all right? Because I've got time on Thursday. Does that sound good? I've got to check with my husband. All right. Okay. Well, get back to me in a reasonable period of time because I'm pretty booked. Yeah. So, and that way, at least you're closing the time gap. And ultimate thing would be shaking hands and going, no problems. I'll see you on Wednesday to do the job. Yeah. Or Thursday, whatever it is. But you've shaken hands on it. Yeah. You've got closure. The whole point of sales, you go to any sales class, the first thing they put up on the board, the only thing they put up on the board is how to close the sale. That's everything, closing. So close them. Don't leave them open with an email, an expected email. I don't think anyway. There was we had talk about the new advert, and obviously talk about whether it's better or worse than the old jingle, but it doesn't matter. The main thing is that people are talking about it. Things are different, it sparks people's attention. People start talking about it. That's why we do things like that in marketing. It doesn't necessarily matter what is better. Better doesn't necessarily always just sell. What you want is attention being and being talked about, and that's what these kind of little changes, and we go back, we go forth, and we go back to the old jingle. So we'll do stuff like that just to keep interest going, and difference happening, and attention on us. In your business, you've got to think about marketing. There's no question. I had a conversation with a fella this week, more on the phone, and he said to me, oh, listen, I've done everything I can do. I've done a flyer drop. I'm like, flyer drops don't work, but I've done everything. Well, you haven't done everything. What about your Facebook page? Yeah. And when I say Facebook page, I'm not talking about Jim's Facebook page. I'm talking about your personal Facebook page, and you just document what you do, right? With the people that you load up on there, which is going to be your customers. Listen, mate, it's 101. Don't do flyer drops before you have a Facebook page and try and get all your customers up on there. That's wasted energy. It might make you feel good, but there's no result, right? So, and you do in business, I think we get supported well with the marketing system, the gym system and systems in general, and the marketing system. But you've got to work your backlist. You've got to work your backlist, and you've got to build a strong golden client base from that backlist and from the customers you meet. So, but don't not ever think that you're not going to engage in marketing, or you've done all the marketing you can do. Leverage off of your existing client base, additional services. They're the easiest to sell to, and do your Facebook. And maybe look at the houses for sale in the area. But don't stop doing those things. It's about consistency. Be careful of big jobs that are draining. This is going to be very important as we're coming into spring, right? Any big jobs or extras, start looking to put them off, because every big job you do probably means that you missed out on doing 6 quotes, and 6 quotes might have been better for your business than the cleanup money, maybe. Don't know. Well, it would be in terms of building gold client base. Don't give an exact time, okay? Yep. A couple of people got caught on that one. Mower talk, right? We started talking about Hondas, obviously, which are in not the greatest supply at the moment, obviously. Well, non-existent supply. Some guys have gone across to talk about Bush Rangers. Bush Rangers heavier than the Honda, evidently. Guys started talking about the Massport, right? So the Honda evidently is 53 kilos. The Massport is 650 is 42, so a whole 10 kilos lighter, and the Massport runs at a higher RPM. Now, you guys are better at this stuff than me. I'm just repeating what these guys have said to me, but it runs at a higher RPM, right? Which is obviously, we understand what that does for us with blades spinning faster, right? Which is better, right? Chucks the grass further. We're all having issues with that at the moment if we've got wet grass, yeah? Try to remember that, well, not try to remember, but remember that, you know, your catcher filling up and not getting all the way to the back is just as much about flow of air as it is anything else. So if you've got a very non-ventilated bag and wet grass is sticking up against it, the vents that exist there, it's not going to throw the grass in there as far, right? So it's about ventilation, as we know from ride-ons and stuff like that catch. You know, it's about sucking it up, throwing it back, sucking it in. All that air is going to create resistance unless it can flow through. Yep. Cool. Excellent. Jumping back onto additional services. Inform your customers if you're doing poisoning, that it can take 2 to 3 weeks for those weeds to die, right? Or whatever it is that you think based on your formula, right? But inform them that they don't just instantly die unless you're putting slasher in there, and that's expensive and it may actually kill it before the poison bloody gets into the roots anyway. So, but inform them of that, and guess what else happens? Remember, in 3 weeks' time, you know, by those times those ones die, new weeds come up. So herbiciding is a package deal. Yeah, it normally takes more than 1 or 2 to get it under control, quite often, right? So it's also about penetration. You know, it's about getting into the plant. So guys talked about a poison that's got a high sodium content, because it obviously dries out the plant and then it sucks in the poison. Yet guys have talked about, you know, when they've made their own mixtures, putting in chemicals that do that. And then of course you've got surfactants and stuff like that that'll actually help you cut through the oiliness of a plant and stuff like that. Poisons are all about penetration, yeah, not necessarily about the amount of glyphosate, and you can talk to your customers about that if they're greenies as well. You can also talk to them about the fact that, you know, it takes a little while for that plant to die properly, and other weeds do come up, to avoid the complaints. Maybe you're meeting people for the first time, trust levels are not as high, so you have to explain more stuff to them, yeah. We always talk about creating a list of additional services, like so that you're booking in advance. I'll mention that again because I can't give that enough attention. You know, running like a blackboard of your customers and the additional services that they require, and then working your way through that list. One of the guys at the meeting said, listen, I actually have that, I go that list, and then he goes, I choose what I'm actually going to book for that week based on the size of the job and how it fits into my schedule. I went, oh my God, that's gold. You know, why wouldn't you? You know, so, you know, talk about controlling your own destiny. You've got a list of additional services that need to be done at different clients' jobs, and you look down the list and you create your future or your money for the week. So he goes, I work out how much money I want to make for the week, and I pick the additional services to match. How do you like that? I thought that was gold. Cool. We also talked about, I told you there's heaps. We also talked about employees, and we talked about the fact that one of the advantages that you've got by being a Jim's Mowing franchisee is, yes, you pay franchise fees, right? But you get a lot of margin in what you do. I mean, that's where we aim for everything, for the highest possible margin, you know, and difference between your time it takes you to earn that money, right? So margin, you know, less time and a greater profit, higher prices. So margin in between your costs and your revenue expense. So in gyms, that's what we're aiming at, right? So it really does give you quite an opportunity that a lot of people in the industry, or any industry that doesn't have margin, to employ people. Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of employing the right person. Okay. So you've got to be careful. Don't just jump in, but set yourself maybe the goal of starting to talk to, you know, people that you know about, whether they know anyone that would be appropriate for it, because friends and family are the best for that kind of thing. But if you take into account, the guys started talking about, and they were talking about, okay, well, $26 an hour. I'm just saying numbers that I heard. You need to look into these things, of course, but $26 an hour, let's say on costs on top, take it to 30, and he was charging out $100 an hour, right? With employees, you know, they all go around in the same truck, so he's part of that creation of wealth. They're not out by themselves. I think sometimes that can be not good, but they take on bigger jobs as well, probably, that allow for, we know there's bigger money in cleanup jobs. That's probably our most premium service. So they take on more of that work, and that's where they can get that hourly rate even higher. But having an employee also gives you resistance. If you injure yourself, they can work, you can follow them around. There is still a lot of work that one of the big advantages of putting someone on is that you got more time to talk to the customer, and therefore you get more additional services. That came up too, people that work in twos, even if it's husband and wife, you find that they have a lot more additional services because they spend more time talking to their customer, because one's finishing off while the other one's talking to the customer about what else needs to be done. Cool. I'll quickly mention one other thing, although this could be a topic on its own, and that is it sometimes comes up like when the customer wants to dictate price or terms, frequency, and that is, so I've been talking about this a couple of times with a couple of newer guys, because they tend to get pushed around a bit more. But so at the end of the day, listen, you're in control of your business. You are the gardener, right? So you are the gardener, not them. What do they know about gardening? Comparing them to us, right? And their ability to say, oh, well, I think that's too high. Or price or something like to that effect. Well, yeah, but I'm the expert, right? Not you. So, because you're the gardener, you see everyone else's yard around the area, as well. So you know what's going on around the area. So for frequency, what chemical to use. You monitor the weather, you know your workload, well, that's the other thing. Price has got a lot to do with your ability to supply it, you know what I mean? So you know your workload, you know the quality of your work, you know your reliability, right? They don't necessarily yet, because you've only just met them and given them their first quote. You know the cost associated with running a mowing business, yes? And also being part of a franchise group, that comes with all the benefits for them, guaranteed quality, all those things, right? So they are not the experts. You are the expert. That's why on the back of the shirt, it says your local expert, because that's what we are compared to them, So, and you're the one that's in the position to dictate terms, not them, right? So, now you don't have to list those reasons off to a customer ever, but you can have the confidence in what you're doing that, not to meet that resistance, because you are the expert within the area, So just remember that. Man, that was a long one, right? So that was just coming to a meeting, me listening to some stuff and giving you like 25 minutes of stuff, right? And now that's done in about an hour in a meeting, and obviously you get better stuff too in a meeting because you get interaction with the guys directly, So if you can come to a meeting, guys, like talk about things that you should do for your business, that guys don't do for the business when they work in their business, not on their business, like keeping a list of additional services that clients take, ranking their clients, working on your business. Another one is coming to meetings, right? And that's 101, because that motivates you as well. So get to a meeting if you can. Good on you guys. Thanks for listening. Ciao.